Let's play a little game called Who Owns Your Stuff? You probably think the answer is you. You worked for it, you bought it, you paid the taxes on it, why so? It's yours, right? That is a remarkably cute sentiment. It's the kind of naivety that gets you eaten first when the grocery stores turn into empty glass boxes and the polite veneer of society peels away like a sunburn. History is basically just a long, depressing receipt of governments deciding that your property is actually their emergency reserve. Look at Cyprus in 2013. You go to bed thinking your savings account is safe, and you wake up to find the bank doors locked. When they finally opened, 40% of people's savings had just vanished into the ether. Poof. Legal theft. Or rewind to 1933, right here in the land of the free. Executive Order 6102. The government didn't ask nicely for your gold. They demanded it. FBI agents were hunting down gold coins like they were fugitive serial killers. If you refuse to hand over your generational wealth, 10 years in a federal cage. This isn't ancient history, it's the playbook. And that playbook is sitting in a dusty binder labeled Emergency Powers right now, waiting for someone to panic hard enough to open it. When the grid goes down and the panic sets in, the authorities aren't coming to save you. They are coming to stabilize the system, and stabilizing the system is bureaucrat speak for taking your stuff to keep the lights on at City Hall. There are 5 specific assets that get seized first. These are the things that make you a target, not just to the starving mob, but to the guys with badges and clipboards who have the legal authority to kick your door in. We are going to talk about how to keep them, how to hide them, and the protocols that make you invisible. Because the most dangerous thing you can own in a collapse isn't a gun or a bunker. It is something that everyone knows you have. If you are the only guy on the block with a working toaster when the world has gone dark, you are not a survivor. You are a loot drop. Let's start with asset number 1. Fuel and generators. The lifeblood of the machine. The moment the power grid fails, the countdown starts. It is a mathematical certainty. Without fuel, every single emergency system we rely on collapses within 72 hours. Ambulances turn into expensive paperweights. Hospitals go dark. And suddenly, that 500-gallon propane tank sitting in your backyard isn't just your barbecue fuel. It is a strategic resource. Do you think they care about your frozen steaks? No. They care about keeping the regional medical center running for another 6 hours. And here is the kicker. They will take it legally. They won't look like villains twirling mustaches. They will look like desperate public servants with a mandate. And you lose. But how do they find it? You might think you're slick because you put a tarp over it. Buddy, Google Earth saw that tank 3 years ago. It's already on a map. Resource teams don't need to drive around aimlessly. They pull property records and cross-reference aerial imagery before they even start their engines. They have a shopping list, and your address is on aisle 4. And it gets worse. Technology has made hiding almost impossible for the lazy. Thermal drones are a thing. Propane tanks have a specific thermal mass. They hold temperature differently than the surrounding air. To a thermal camera, your fuel tank glows like a neon sign in a dive bar. And generators? Forget about it. A running generator creates a heat bloom on forward-looking infrared that screams, "I have power," to anyone flying a drone at 400 feet. One pass over your neighborhood catalogs every single house that is holding out. Then there is the noise. This is where the physics of sound will betray you. Right now, your neighborhood has a noise floor of about 65 decibels. Air conditioners humming, distant traffic. That one neighbor who insists on leaf blowing his driveway at 7 a.m., your generator blending into that white noise is fine. But in a blackout, the world goes silent. The ambient noise floor drops to 30 decibels. It becomes library quiet. Suddenly, that whisper-quiet generator in your garage sounds like a chainsaw inside a cathedral. Human hearing is adaptable. In the absence of background noise, we become predatory listeners. A resource team can hear a standard generator from a quarter-mile away. They don't need high-tech gear, they just need to roll down the windows. You are effectively firing a flare gun into the air every time you turn that thing on. And let's talk about the visual beacon effect. You finally get your generator running, and what do? You turn on the lights. You charge your iPad. You watch a downloaded movie. Congratulations, your house is now a lighthouse in an ocean of darkness. In a blackout, a single candle flame is visible for miles. An illuminated living room with the blue glow of a flat-screen TV? That is a billboard inviting everyone from the government to the local raider gang to come visit. It's practically screaming, "Resources here, come and take it." Even if you use blackout curtains, you aren't safe. Thermal signatures betray you again. If your house is 70 degrees and everyone else's is 40, that heat leakage around your windows and doors is a targeting indicator. You are warm, they are freezing, and that temperature differential is all the probable cause they need to knock on your door. So, how do you fix this? How do you keep the lights on without painting a target on your back? You need to embrace decentralization and signature reduction. First, ditch the giant visible tank. A 500-gallon white pill in the yard is a liability. Instead, use 55-gallon drums. Label them pool chemicals or rainwater collection. Distribute 6 of them around your property. If they find one, you lose 55 gallons, not your entire survival strategy. It's about managing loss, not preventing it entirely. For the generator, you need to think like an engineer, not a camper. You need underground baffling. Dig a pit 30 to 50 feet away from your structure. Run the exhaust through a 3-inch PVC pipe into a buried chamber filled with steel, wool, or fiberglass insulation. This is old-school physics. The hot exhaust heats the material, but the thermal mass absorbs the sound energy. By the time the air vents to the surface through a perforated pipe, it sounds like distant wind. No thumping, no mechanical roar. The exhaust signature is dispersed, and, crucially, it doesn't correlate to your physical location. It's coming out of the ground 50 feet away. Alternatively, build an acoustic enclosure using mass-loaded vinyl. You need to drop that noise signature by 20 to 30 decibels to match the new, quiet world. If you can get the detection radius down from a quarter mile to 75 feet, you might just survive. Light discipline is non-negotiable. This is where most people fail because they are addicted to comfort. Blackout curtains on every single window. And you need to test them. Go outside at night. If you see even a sliver of light, you have failed. Use red spectrum lights inside. They travel less distance and preserve your natural night vision. Better yet, minimize artificial light entirely. Live by the sun. If you are heating your home, avoid smoke. Smoke is just a vertical finger pointing at your house saying, "Someone is warm here." Use electric heat from your suppressed generator or high-efficiency wood stoves that use secondary combustion to burn off the smoke before it leaves the chimney. And, for the love of all that is holy, hide your solar panels. I see these suburban preppers with massive rooftop arrays shining in the sun like diamonds. You might as well paint "I have batteries" on your roof. Rooftop installations scream independent power to anyone doing aerial recon. The countermove is ground-mounted arrays behind privacy fencing or under a tree canopy. Yes, you will lose 15 to 20% efficiency. Deal with it. You are trading efficiency for invisibility. Panels hidden behind an 8-foot fence are invisible to the street and harder to spot from the air. But here is the catch. All that power is worthless if you don't know what is coming. You need intel. You need to know where the checkpoints are, which neighborhoods are getting tossed, and where the resource teams are operating. That requires communication. And that brings us to the second asset, the one that makes you priority target number 1 for a completely different reason. Asset number 2, communication equipment. I see you there, nodding confidently. You bought a Baofeng radio off Amazon for $20, watched one YouTube tutorial on repeaters, and now you think you are the communications commander of the wasteland. You have ham radios, GMRS units, maybe a satellite phone if you have more money than sense, and a mesh network setup that you swear is unhackable. You have high-gain antennas that can bounce a signal off the moon. You feel prepared because you can talk to people without relying on the cell towers that stopped working 3 weeks ago. But here is the cold, hard reality check. Your ability to communicate is exactly why they are coming for you. Information control is the bedrock of managing civil unrest. Every single coup, revolution, or martial law declaration in history follows the exact same playbook. Step 1. Seize the broadcasting stations. Step 2. Shut down the internet. Step 3. Establish an information monopoly. If the government is the only one talking, then whatever they say becomes the truth. Your little independent radio station in the basement? That is a threat vector. It is an unauthorized node in a controlled system, and it requires neutralization. The detection method they use is called RF triangulation, and it is terrifyingly effective. When you press that talk button, you are emitting electromagnetic signals that radiate out from your location like ripples in a pond. Radio direction finding, or RDF, has been around since World War II. Back then, it took a guy in a van spinning a loop antenna to find a spy. Today, it is automated, digital, and instantaneous. Modern RDF systems can pinpoint a transmission source to within meters in seconds. It works on basic geometry. 3 monitoring stations detect your signal. They measure the time delay between when the signal hits each station. The computer draws 3 lines on a map, and where they intersect, that is you. The first sweep narrows it to your neighborhood. The second sweep gets your block. The third sweep identifies your house number. Military-grade systems, like the ones mounted on helicopters or Wolfhound units, can do this in under 60 seconds. Here is the nightmare scenario. There is a declared communication emergency. Radio silence is mandated. Transmitting isn't just rude, it is a crime. The content of your message is irrelevant. You could be reading the Bible or asking if your buddy Steve has extra batteries. It doesn't matter. The signal itself is the violation. You press the button to check on Steve. Congratulations, you just committed a federal offense and broadcast your GPS coordinates to every monitoring station in a 50-mile radius. You have marked yourself as an unauthorized transmitter. That puts you on the priority list for an equipment confiscation raid. The resource team doesn't care about your intent. They care that you are breaking the silence. The countermeasure is a phrase that should be tattooed on the inside of your eyelids. Receive only. Passive reception does not emit signals. You cannot be detected if you are just listening. You cannot be triangulated if you never key the mic. It sounds simple, but this is psychologically brutal. We are social creatures. When the world ends, we want to connect. You will hear someone on the open frequency calling for help or asking for news, and your instinct will be to respond. You will want to coordinate with your group. You have to kill that instinct. Unless it is an immediate, life-threatening emergency where the benefit of calling for help clearly outweighs the risk of a SWAT team kicking in your door, you maintain absolute silence. 1 intelligence listener is worth 10 talkers. Monitor the emergency frequencies. Scan the ham bands. Listen to shortwave to hear what the rest of the world is doing. Eavesdrop on the police frequencies if they haven't gone encrypted yet, but do not talk. Do not acknowledge. Be a ghost. And then there's your antenna. You spent all that money on a massive rooftop array because you wanted exceptional range. Well, congratulations. You have turned your house into a giant flag that says, Advanced Communications Center inside. It is visible to your neighbors, visible to patrols, and visible to aerial recon. It completely defeats the purpose of having covert capability if you advertise it with professional infrastructure on your roof. You need stealth designs. Use dipole wire antennas hidden in your attic. Run a long wire along your roofline, tucked under the eaves where shadows hide it. Use random wires threaded through trees, disguised as support cables or laundry lines. A clothesline antenna that actually has wet underwear drying on it is the ultimate camouflage. Yes, you will lose 20 to 30% of your performance compared to a tower. But that trade is tactically sound because it keeps you out of a detention center. Also, we need to talk about EMPs and scanning. If you have backup radios sitting on a shelf, they are vulnerable. You need Faraday storage. Primary gear stays accessible, but your backups need to be in a black hole. Metal ammo cans with conductive gasket seals are a good start. Multiple layers of aluminized mylar bags, the kind used for food storage, work well too. Galvanized trash cans with tight lids are the budget version. This serves 2 purposes. First, it protects your gear from a nuclear detonation or a solar flare that fries every microchip on the continent. Second, and more relevantly, it blocks all electromagnetic signals in both directions. Equipment inside a proper Faraday container is electronically invisible. It can't be remotely pinged, it can't have its firmware interrogated by a Stingray device, and it can't be detected by scanning tools. It is dark matter until you open the box. But let's be real. All the intel in the world, all the radios, all the secret listening, it is all worthless if you starve to death. You can't eat a Baofeng radio. This brings us to asset number 3. The most psychologically complex and legally dangerous asset you own: food stockpiles. You need to understand something fundamental about the legal framework of survival. It contradicts everything you believe about American property rights. You think your pantry is yours? Wrong. Anti-hoarding legislation is real, It is documented, and it has been implemented repeatedly. During World War I, the U.S. Lever Act made food hoarding a federal crime. Rationing laws criminalized excess storage. Look at Venezuela. Recently, people went to prison for having too much flour. In Soviet states, private storage was an offense against the collective. The pattern is universal. When scarcity hits, a full pantry is no longer preparation. It is evidence of theft from the community. The psychology is brutal and simple. If 10 families on your street are starving and your kids look well-fed, you are hoarding. Your foresight is irrelevant. What matters is the optics of inequality during a crisis. You have calories, they don't. That is a political problem. And the government solves political problems by redistributing your stockpile to make everyone equally miserable. Detection starts long before the trucks roll out. It starts with digital forensics. Do you have a Costco card? Do you have a loyalty program at your grocery store? Do you order bulk rice on Amazon? Every 50-pound bag of beans, every case of canned peaches, every freeze-dried bucket is all data. It is in a database right now. Credit card transactions, online order histories, loyalty points, it is all aggregated. In a crisis, the government invokes resource tracking authority. They don't need to guess who has food, they have the receipts. They can run a simple algorithm. Show me addresses that have purchased more than 500 pounds of grain in the last 12 months. Your address pops up on a screen. You are on the targeting roadmap. The data exists. They just need the legal ink to dry on the executive order to use it. But let's say you paid cash. You were smart. You wore a hat and sunglasses to the grocery store like a weirdo. You are still not safe. Trash analysis tells stories that you can't hide. This is the low-tech, gritty side of surveillance. When everyone else is on minimal government rations, their trash is light. It is full of specific, uniform government distribution packaging. Your trash? It's full of extra wrappers, private labels, freeze-dried pouches, and packaging that doesn't match the official supply chain. You are throwing away evidence that you are eating better than the established baseline. Anyone conducting systematic waste analysis, and yes, they do, this will identify that discrepancy immediately. House 4B has discarded 3 empty cans of beef stew. The ration this week is rice. Go pay them a visit. Then comes the human intelligence. This is the ugliest part of survival. The part the movies gloss over. Social bonds break when bellies are empty. Governments weaponize this desperation. They set up tip lines with rewards. Report hoarders, get extra rations. It is insidious. Your neighbor, the guy you loaned your lawnmower to, is watching his kids get thinner every day. He knows you have a stockpile because you bragged about it at a barbecue 3 years ago. He faces a choice. Report you and feed his family for another week, or keep your secret and watch his children suffer. Most people choose family. They will rationalize the betrayal. They will convince themselves you are selfish, that you are the bad guy for holding out, that you deserve it. Betrayal always arrives wrapped in moral justification. So, how do you keep your calories without getting raided? How do you hide a year's supply of food when the government has your purchase history and your neighbors are hungry? You need a decoy, and you need to become an architectural magician. The concept of the Decoy Pantry is your first line of defense against the friendly neighborhood inspection team. You need a visible, accessible, but pitifully modest supply of food that matches exactly what the authorities expect a struggling household to have under rationing. I'm talking 3 to 5 days of basics, a couple of cans of generic soup, a half-empty box of crackers, maybe a jar of peanut butter that looks like you've been scraping the bottom of it with a spoon for a week. Keep this right in your kitchen cabinets, exactly where a normal person keeps food. When the authorities knock in, they will knock before they kick you. Cooperate fully. You open the cabinets, you show them your pathetic stash. You look tired, hungry, and worried. You ask them if they have any extra rations to spare. You surrender the decoy willingly. This isn't just acting. It is psychological warfare. The inspector has a quota. He has a psychological need to find something to justify the search. If he finds an empty house, he gets suspicious and keeps digging. If he finds a warehouse of food, you go to jail. But if he finds a normal amount of food, he checks his box, notes your compliance, and moves on to your neighbor who is foolishly trying to barricade his door. You just bought your freedom for the price of 3 cans of beans and a good performance. But where is the real food? It isn't behind a bookshelf that swings open like your Batman. That is movie nonsense. Real long-term storage requires structural concealment. You want to create spaces that are architecturally implausible but invisible to the naked eye. We aren't building secret rooms. We are exploiting the gaps in standard construction. Look at the gap between your basement ceiling and the first floor. If you drop a false ceiling 6 inches lower than the framing requires, you create a massive void for flat storage pasta, rice, freeze-dried pouches that no one notices because no one measures the ceiling height during a raid. Or consider the dead space inside built-in cabinetry. A closet that is 2 feet shallower than the exterior wall suggests it should be is easily explained away as a plumbing chase or HVAC routing. Inspectors are looking for boxes and piles. They aren't pulling out tape measures and comparing your hallway dimensions to the blueprints. You are hiding your survival in the geometry of your house. However, the best hiding spot in the world won't save you if you are stupid with your garbage. Absolute trash discipline is the difference between life and death. You cannot throw bulk packaging in your residential bin, ever. If you are eating well, your trash will smell like success, and success attracts parasites. Paper and cardboard must be burned completely. I don't mean charred, I mean reduced to white ash that you scatter in the garden. Metal cans need to be washed, crushed, and then taken on a midnight gardening run to a commercial dumpster 3 towns over. Never use the same dumpster twice. Plastic containers need to be cut up and distributed across multiple disposal sites. Your household waste stream must match your Decoy Pantry. If you are supposedly living on government rice, your trash better be nothing but empty rice bags. Anything else is a broadcast signal telling the world you have a secret. But here is the brutal reality that most preppers ignore while they are fondling their AR-15 seconds. Calories are strategically worthless if you die from a tooth infection. You can have 10 years of wheat stored up, but if you step on a rusty nail and can't treat the sepsis, you are just a well-fed corpse. This brings us to asset number 4, medical supplies, and specifically, why your bathroom cabinet is the first thing they audit. In a major crisis, the healthcare system changes instantly. Hospitals stop being places of healing and become fortress triage centers protected by armed guards. Resources are centralized for efficiency. The government realizes they can't supply everyone, so they prioritize field hospitals and mass casualty centers. To keep those running, they need supplies. And where are the supplies? In the pharmacies, the warehouses, and yes, in your private stash. When the reserves run dry, they issue requisition orders. Your personal stockpile of amoxicillin versus the needs of a field hospital treating 500 people? You lose that math equation every time. Detection is terrifyingly easy because we live in a digital panopticon. Every prescription you have filled in the last decade exists in a database. National prescription monitoring programs, insurance claims, pharmacy chain record sit is all digitized and cross-referenced. During a declared medical emergency, HIPAA laws are suspended or overridden by emergency powers. The government can generate a list of every household that has filled a prescription for antibiotics, pain meds, or insulin in the last 6 months. They don't need to search randomly. They have a shopping list with your name on it. And when they come, they use a standardized bathroom audit protocol. It sounds fancy, but it just means they know humans are creatures of habit. Where do you keep your meds? The medicine cabinet, the linen closet, under the master bathroom sink. It's instinctive. When an inspection team enters a house, the master bathroom is the first target. They pull the drawers, check the cabinets, and dump the shelves. It takes less than 5 minutes. If your antibiotics are next to your toothpaste, they are gone. You have just lost your ability to fight infection because you were too lazy to walk to another room. Effective countermeasures require you to break your conditioning. Critical medical supplies should never, ever be stored in a bathroom. The bathroom gets a decoy kit, just like the kitchen. Put a box of Band-Aids, some antiseptic, maybe some expired cough syrup, and a half-empty bottle of ibuprofen in the cabinet. Make it look like a normal, unprepared American bathroom. Give them something to find so they feel successful. Your actual stockpile needs to be relocated to the most boring, bureaucratic, unmedical place in your house. I'm talking about the home office, the garage, or the basement storage area. You want to use camouflage through boredom. Get a cardboard box. Label it 2016 to 2018 tax records or Christmas ornaments broken. Put your antibiotics, your trauma kit, and your prescription refills at the bottom of that box, and cover them with actual old tax forms or tangled strings of broken holiday lights. Inspection teams are operating under severe time constraints. They want to hit 20 houses a day. They are not going to sit on your floor and sift through your tax receipts. They are looking for orange bottles and red crosses. If your life-saving medication is inside a box that looks like administrative torture, it is invisible. You are using their own boredom against them. Diversification is also key here. Don't be the idiot who puts all his eggs in one basket. Split your medical cachet into 3 parts. Keep one in the house, hidden in the boring box. One in a detached structure like a garage or shed, and one in your vehicle or an off-site location. If they find one, you lose 30%, not 100%. Redundancy is the only backup for when luck fails. And luck will fail. Now, let's pivot to the final asset class, the one that people think will save them when the dollar turns into toilet paper. Asset number 5, precious metals. Gold, silver, foreign currency, and the hardware wallets for your crypto. This is the hard wealth that survives when the digital illusion of money evaporates. But here is the problem. History is a circle, and the government knows exactly how to close the loop on your neck. You think confiscation is impossible? That it can't happen here? Let me introduce you to Executive Order 6102, April 5th, 1933. The United States government didn't just ask for gold, they criminalized it. They ordered all citizens to surrender gold coins and bullion to the Federal Reserve. The penalty for keeping your own property? $10,000, which is like $250,000 today and 10 years in federal prison. And the Supreme Court said, yeah, that's cool. This wasn't a dictatorship. This was the land of liberty. Private gold ownership remained illegal for 4 decades. Or look at Lebanon in 2019. The banks just froze. You had money, theoretically. You could see the numbers on the screen, but you couldn't touch it. It was trapped behind a sheet of glass and a legal order. That is modern confiscation. No soldiers, just a software update that locks you out of your life. The biggest trap in this game is the safe deposit box. If you have gold in a safe deposit box at a bank, you do not own gold. You own a receipt for gold that is currently in the custody of an institution that will lock its doors the moment the panic starts. When a bank declares a holiday, which is a nice word for we are closed, and keeping your money access to the vault is suspended. Under emergency requisition orders, authorities can and will drill those boxes. They will inventory the contents. They will confiscate precious metals to stabilize the national currency. You have zero leverage. You can't get in the building. Your key is useless. If it is inside a bank, it belongs to the bank's interests, not yours. If you want to own it, you must hold it. It needs to be in your hot little hands, on your property, under your immediate control. But even having it at home is dangerous if you don't know the rules of the game. Because if you try to move it, you get caught. If you try to spend it, you get flagged. If you try to move your wealth, you are walking into a trap. In a collapse scenario, freedom of movement is the first casualty. Checkpoints appear on major roads like acne on a teenager. They aren't just checking IDs, they are scanning for contraband. Metal detectors at train stations, bus terminals, and highway choke points become the new normal. If you are trying to smuggle 20 ounces of gold across state lines in your backpack, you are going to trigger every sensor from here to the border. The guys manning those checkpoints aren't looking for terrorists. They're looking for resources. And your family heirlooms just became their civil asset forfeiture. So, if you can't bank it and you can't move it, you have to bury it. We call this midnight gardening, and it is a time-tested methodology because it is low-tech and immune to electronic surveillance. But don't just dig a hole and throw your coins in like a pirate. Soil chemistry is nasty. It will eat your wealth faster than inflation. You need PVC pipe. Go to the hardware store while you still can get 4 to 6 inch diameter sections with threaded end caps. Fill them with your precious metals and throw in a handful of desiccant packets to fight moisture. Seal it tight. This creates a waterproof, corrosion-resistant time capsule. Now, where do you put it? Not in the basement. Not under the floorboards. That's where the amateurs hide stuff. And that is where the thieves look. You put it in the ground, on your property, but outside the structure. And here is the science of the dig. Depth matters. You want the Goldilocks zone, 18 to 24 inches deep. Any shallower, and a dog scratching for a bone or a heavy rainstorm exposes it. Any deeper, and you need heavy equipment to get it back. You don't want to be out there with a backhoe when the economy collapses. You want to be able to retrieve your savings with a shovel and 10 minutes of cardio. And please, for the love of sanity, do not draw a treasure map. Treasure maps are just instruction manuals for the guy who raids your house. Use offsets and natural features. Memorize the geometry. 3 feet north from the old oak tree, on a bearing of 30 degrees. It's trigonometry, not magic. If you can't remember it, you don't deserve to keep it. There is also a high-value intelligence loophole that most gold bugs ignore. Junk silver. We are talking about pre-1965 US. Dimes, quarters, and half dollars. They contain 90% silver, but legalistically, they are classified as circulating currency, not bullion. This creates a beautiful gray area in confiscation orders. Executive Order 6,102 exempted. Rare coins and collectibles. Is a 1,964 quarter a collectible? Is it loose change? It depends on how the lawyer writes the confiscation order. But that ambiguity is your friend. Plus, there is the practical utility. Let's say you need to buy a chicken from a farmer. If you hand him a 1-ounce gold eagle worth $2,000, what is he going to do? Give you the chicken and $1,900 in change? No, you just overpaid for dinner. Junk silver allows for small transactions. It is the fractional currency of the apocalypse. It allows you to buy bread without flashing a bar of gold that screams, "Follow me home and rob me." All of this, the fuel, the radios, the food, the meds. The gold leads us to the final, overarching philosophy, the ghost protocol. If you think this is just about hiding stuff, you have fundamentally missed the point. This isn't about hoarding. It is about operational security as a complete lifestyle. The objective is to appear statistically average while being privately exceptional. You want to be the household that nobody talks about. You want to be the neighbor who blends so completely into the background normalcy that you become invisible. Strategic invisibility begins with understanding what makes you visible. Anomalies. A full trash can when everyone else is empty is an anomaly. A light on during a blackout is an anomaly. A fat guy in a neighborhood of starving people is a massive anomaly. Your mission is to eliminate every signal. You need to maintain public appearances with religious discipline. If the government is handing out rations, you get in line. You stand there for 4 hours like everyone else, even if you have 5 years of food at home. You complain about the wait. You look tired. You accept the handout with gratitude. Why? Because if you don't show up, people notice. Hey, where is Dave? Why doesn't he need rice? That question is the spark that burns your house down. You have to participate in the misery. It is acting. It is the greatest performance of your life. The Decoy Pantry principle extends to your entire persona. What the neighbors see, what the drones record, and what the casual observer notices must all paint a picture of a normal, struggling, boring household. Nothing interesting, nothing worth investigating. Underneath that carefully maintained facade of mediocrity, you are a fortress. You have energy, you have comms, you have antibiotics, and you have wealth. But it is structurally concealed, digitally silent, and socially camouflaged. The gap between your apparent status and your actual capability is your safety margin. That gap is survival. Here is the reality check, though. You can do all of this. Perfectly, you can baffle your generator, bury your gold, eat your trash hand. You can still lose. The universe does not care about your prep. Randomness exists. Bad luck exists. A stray mortar round doesn't care if you have a decoy pantry. You can't control everything. What you can control is the cost-benefit analysis of targeting your household. Make the search expensive. Make the expected return low. Make the easier targets more attractive. You don't need to be invisible to God. You just need to be less visible than the guy across the street who is flashing his generator lights. Predators take the easiest prey. Be difficult prey. This requires a massive shift in mindset. Most preppers think hiding means sitting in a bunker with a shotgun waiting for the zombies. That is static. That is passive. Eventually, they will smoke you out. Blending is active. It is dynamic. It is managing perception, controlling information flow, and shaping the narrative about who you are. It is psychological warfare. It is the difference between being a target and being a ghost. You have a choice. You can ignore all of this. You can keep that big white propane tank in your yard like a monument to your own ego. You can keep running that loud generator that sounds like a lawnmower from hell. You can keep that massive antenna on your roof telling the government exactly where to send the drone. You can keep your supplies in the bathroom where any idiot can find them. And when they come knocking, and they will come when they have your address on a clipboard, when they show up with the truck and the legal authority to strip you bare, you can be surprised. You can scream about your rights. You can quote the Constitution while they load your food into their van. And then you can watch them drive away with your life. Or you can adapt. You can become boring. You can become forgettable. You can become the gray man who survives because he was too uninteresting to rob. The preparation window is closing. The systems are already tracking you. The laws are already written. The only thing left is for the lights to go out. Don't be the guy they find. Be the ghost they never knew was there.